What up, everybody? Welcome to a new Perceptions podcast episode on my YouTube channel. Yes, we managed to film this one, which I'm super stoked about. This episode is featuring a guest, a friend of mine, a new friend of mine, MATT XIAN. Matt is an incredible soul. He's a fellow artist, psychonaut, musician. He's in a band. He's a DJ. He does ecstatic dance. He's also a filmmaker, a film producer, a YouTuber. He does all sorts of incredible things. He also has a beautiful podcast, which I really encourage you to check out. I really think you're going to enjoy the things that he's creating in the world, which is part of the reason I'm really stoked to get him on this podcast. And we drop in deep. We share aspects of our journey. He speaks to his experience with cannabis and with psilocybin mushrooms, psychedelics, being a DJ, ecstatic dance. There's all sorts of topics that are covered in this podcast, and it all flows really beautifully together. So make yourself comfortable, settle in, take a couple of deep breaths with us in the beginning of this podcast, and enjoy the journey. Welcome to the podcast. Matt.
Thank you, brother.
How do I pronounce your surname?
Zian.
Zian.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Love that you got an X in your surname. That must mean
Totally.
You're from way deep in the galaxy somewhere. It's like origins.
1000%. I forget the star system name. It was pretty hard to pronounce, so I've given up. But yeah, I'm from very far away for sure.
It's up there somewhere. But brother,
Yes,
welcome to the New Perceptions podcast.
Thank
such
you.
an
It's
honor
an honor
to
to
have
be
you,
here.
dude. It's such a pleasure to have you. Why don't we start off? I'd actually like to start off if you join me in a nice deep nose breath in through the nose and out through the mouth together. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Let's do one more of those. Nice. Bring us onto the same frequency a little bit.
1000%. I love breath work.
Same. Let's start with a quick check-in. Let's just in a minute or so, just give us a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual check-in. How are you doing?
Let's go. Oh, I'm good. Morning is my favorite time. I found that my sleep chronotype, which everyone has a different sleep chronotype, where it's better for you to get up at a certain time. You're way more optimal. You're operating more optimally at certain times. It's funny because a lot of people think that, there's just one way to be productive. And I've learned that it's definitely varied. Some people actually are better at getting up at noon and working late into the night and then getting a lot more done.
That's
Some
been me
people are
recently,
better.
for sure.
That's funny. Yeah, and it does actually change and shift around.
Interesting.
But for me, I'm an early bird, get the worm type of guy. So I'm feeling energized, feeling grateful, feeling happy, feeling blessed, feeling like I'm in alignment with my path and my soul's mission here on earth. So I can't be more grateful for that, you know what I mean? Because I didn't always have that. That's definitely something I've only found in the past decade, and I'm 30 now, so from years 0 to 20, I was living, and I was as happy as I could be without understanding the full scope of why I'm here on earth. But after around age 20, I had like an awakening, and I started really aligning myself with a deeper meaning and a deeper purpose in life.
You're already answering all the questions that I've got.
Oh,
and
amazing.
we're only in the check.
We're only in the check-in.
I'm so excited, and I know that. You and I have had like a quick FaceTime before we did this like a couple of weeks ago, before we like booked this podcast in, and I felt from my side like this is another alien brother who is like a soul family tribe member, and our frequencies are very much aligned. So it doesn't surprise me that somehow you already know what I'm going to ask you.
Love it. Yeah. So I'm grateful. I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's such a treat, dude. Okay. My check-in, I'm feeling physically strong today. I did a workout this morning, and I usually do like some chin-ups and some push-ups and stuff, but today I was like, I'm going to do like twice as many sets of my little circuit as usual and really push myself. And it got to the point where I like really had to sit down and like a lot of oxygen debt, you know, and you're really just trying to like recover from, which felt really good. And then I went for a swim in the ocean, which is like my morning ritual. So I'm feeling strong in my physical body. Emotionally, feeling pretty like stable. I had a big shift over the last couple of days. I had quite a lot of emotional baggage backing up, and it all kind of cracked open and poured out yesterday, which was nice. So I'm feeling calm. Mentally also in the same space, and spiritually I'm feeling aligned. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Amazing.
So similar to you, dude. Full of gratitude.
Yes. I admire that workout ethic. That's something I'm still striving to get better at. I do work out weekly, but it's usually like once, maybe twice a week. You know, I have a good friend who's a physical coach, you know, physique coach, I mean to say, who really pushes me to strengthen my body because I'm a very mentally stimulated person, creative person. So I just want to say kudos for taking care of your body, you know.
Thanks,
I try to take care of my body. I try to watch what I put in it and these types of things, but I kind of struggle to get the motivation to push heavy objects around, you know what I mean? So I'm
work
still
with
getting
gravity like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's something that definitely comes natural to me. I grew up being quite sporty as opposed to academic. Like wasn't really interested in learning stuff. I just wanted to move my body. I guess I had also a lot of life force energy like fucking shifting through me, and I directed that all into sport for many years of my life. So, and then of course kind of overdid that, and then kind of got disheartened with the whole physical stuff, and then went inwards a little bit more. And now I'm starting to understand that the in and the out is kind of the same thing. And I really need to take care of my physical body, because it has, for me, it's such a win for mental health. Like if I can get out of breath, it's automatically just going to trigger a whole chemical concoction of happy juices going on. So it's an easy win.
I 1,000% agree that when I do work out, I feel better, you know.
Yeah.
So it does something. It absolutely stimulates some good feelings. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So I suppose a quick introduction of like where you live, like who you are, what you do, how would you describe yourself?
Absolutely. I'm MATT XIAN. I'm currently based in San Antonio, Texas, USA, and I'm a creative director, entrepreneur, musician, psychonaut, and I don't know, a general just kind of psychedelic wavy guy.
Wavy is a really good word to describe you, as far as I know. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. It's an honor to be here. You know, it's been an interesting path getting to this point. There's been lots of ups and downs, twists and turns, but things are aligning in a way that feels like divine, you know? So
what a feeling that is, hey?
Yes, it's gorgeous. It's really what makes life worth living, and that's why I come on podcasts and host my own. Is I just want people to find that for themselves. Really, I think everyone can find that. Everyone has a dharma. Everyone has a purpose and a reason we're here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be. I feel that very strongly. I feel that deep in my bones, and it's a lot of people that I encounter that resonate with me are on that path of self-discovery as well. So
love that. And so you mentioned you're 30 now.
Yep.
And you said it was about 10 years ago that you kind of had a big shift, did you?
That's
what did
right.
that look like?
Yeah. So, from my high school time, I was dealing with depression. There's a lot of things that went into that. Maybe I've been realizing more deeply that perhaps my parents' divorce may have had a bigger impact on me than I ever thought. I was pretty easily accepting of that at the time. Of course, it hurt. It sucked. But like I found, I entertained myself. I skateboarded with friends. I played video games. Maybe I escaped into certain activities that kind of kept my mind off of that. But, perhaps when I was around 11, my parents got divorced. I've been realizing as I'm diving deeper into this self-discovery work that maybe that did have an impact on me, and the fact that I don't currently have a relationship with my father as well. I'm learning that might play a bigger role in why I was depressed and why I was lacking, that masculine leader in my life. I never really thought of it that way. I just wasn't informed enough to look deeply enough at that. So I was dealing with depression, just real life stuff, work stuff, school stuff, girl stuff, like things just weren't going my way. And I was kind of like, woe is me type attitude through high school.
Feeling like a bit of the victim of your situation, were you?
100%,
Okay.
100%. And I would say, why me? Why me? Why me? I would ask God or whoever mentally, why do I deserve this? Little did I know that was a very important thing for me to go through so that I would, on the other side, be super grateful. So I started, I'm a musician. We started a band. We were around 15 years old. A couple of the bandmates started smoking cannabis, and I wasn't really down with it. I used to actually hold a lot of judgment against people who smoke cannabis.
Same, dude. I was so judgmental. I come from the athlete background where I was quite a judgmental kid as it was anyway. But I felt like I was contributing to society and everything, and anybody who did drugs was not contributing. I was like, do something useful,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
How
I
times
really
change,
fell
eh?
into that. Oh yeah, a lot has changed. So through a lot of hesitation and through a lot of conversations, I eventually did try cannabis when I was around, I want to say 18 or 19 years old, and it was actually a very powerful experience, very spiritual. It really gave me a lot of relief from anxiety and depression I was dealing with, and I could actually kind of just be enjoying the moment instead of off in the thought world, and that was a powerful shift in my life, but still not quite an awakening. It was definitely an entry point, and I got interested because I was having pretty much psychedelic visions from cannabis, all these like daydreams. I would close my eyes and see scenes unfolding in my mind's eye. Listening to music, I would see like music videos, or if we would watch a film, I would see way deeper layers of the film that I had ever seen before.
I can relate to that. Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. I think you mentioned this on Eric Godsey's podcast, which is actually how I first came across you.
Cool.
Or rather, you came into my field via Eric Godsey's radius.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, and when you were speaking to the psychoactive experience of cannabis, I was like, oh, mate, so it's not just me that feels like I'm tripping when I'm when I'm journeying or in ceremony with that plant.
Right.
And yeah, I felt I could resonate to what you were saying. I felt felt that.
1,000%. It was way more powerful than I ever thought, because on the outside looking in, you just see guys laughing and giggling and their eyes are red and they really love this music for some reason, and I didn't really get it. I was just like, y'all are crazy. Well, I still love you guys, you're my bros, but I'm not gonna do that. But when I did do it and I realized, whoa, so they're entering another dimension, like they're going into the music as a dimension. That's what was happening to me when I took my first few hits of cannabis. And it's funny that this whole other like alter ego of my friends would come out too. Like they would turn into like almost different people, way more silly versions of themselves. They would use accents that they would never normally use and say things they would never normally say. And I started to really find the humor in that and, say, hey, well, this isn't so bad. You know what I mean? Like I was really judgmental of people in that state before, and realizing that they're just enjoying life, so I should chill out a little bit and enjoy life with them. So I did. And I got interested in what is psychedelic, because I would go home and Google. I'm just a very inquisitive person. What does cannabis do? Why does it have the effects it has? What other things do this? And through my research, I found out a few things. One was salvia. Tried salvia a number of times. It was actually legal. Very trippy stuff. I don't really recommend people run and try that out.
I've never tried it.
Yeah,
never came into my space,
It's a lot like DMT in that it's a fully immersive experience. You totally leave your body and you go somewhere else entirely.
Wow. And
I could go in deep on the salvia experiences I had, but really that wasn't an awakening as much. It was like another point of intrigue for me. But magic mushrooms was what caused the awakening. And I did mushrooms twice before they even really worked on me. I did like 2 grams twice, and I felt funny. I felt like I had a few beers. I felt a little stumbly, a little giggly, but it wasn't it wasn't a breakthrough experience. So I kept reading about people having these breakthrough experiences. I don't know if you've ever heard of the website shroomery.org, I believe it is.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I was reading on that, these crazy experiences people were having, and I'm like, hey, I ate mushrooms and this didn't happen to me, so I must not have ate enough. So the third time we ate pretty much double what we'd ever eaten. We ate 3.5 grams. And then we drank orange juice, which apparently amplifies it, because I was like, I'm ready to have this experience. I'm going to do everything in my power to get this experience people are talking about.
Yeah,
and
the
boy,
last
did
thing
I
you
get
want to
the
do
experience.
is like underdose. Like
Right.
Sometimes, especially if you're ceremonially like intentionally trying to have an experience, the last thing you want to do is not quite make it.
Yep. Well, we made it, and we made it quick. 30 minutes into this experience, I was in another world. Like, it seemed to me that I was on an alien planet, and I was an alien, and this was amazing and beautiful as a person who had grown up with an appreciation for the idea of aliens and UFOs and extraterrestrials and all this type of stuff.
Just like things that we don't know about, that there's stuff going on that we don't know about as well.
Totally.
Yeah, same.
And, I was having that experience firsthand as a kind of fantastical vision of, I'm an alien and I'm on an alien planet. But I actually realized there's a lot of truth in that. We are aliens on an alien planet in the grand scope, in the grand scheme. I started to see perspective, a cosmic perspective of, whoa, we're beings on a rock floating through space and going thousands of miles an hour through infinite void nothingness. And we're here though, like it was a profound experience. And then I was really connecting with nature too, because trees appeared to me as beings. And we all know trees are alive. We all know plants are alive. They die, they wilt, they grow. We all knew that, but I totally disconnected from that idea. I almost didn't even see plants. Like I would pass by in the car and never look at trees. It was just like
they were just green things that you knew were growing.
Totally. I just had no interest in perceiving trees and plants and these types of things in my sober reality. Well, on these mushrooms, the plants, they were beings. They were moving. They had a spirit. They were kind of speaking to me, and I understood them as grand masters of wisdom, and they are the protectors and the guardians, and this is their world. Like the plants run this town. and humans are just visitors here on this beautiful plant playground. And I saw them as so much more vital to existence than even humans. And like without plants, none of this would be possible. And I just had such a deep reverence for trees and plants after this experience. And it really changed my life. And I became extremely interested in plant life, so much that in college the next year I took botany, which I had never been interested in. Yeah, I would have never expected that me would be interested in learning about plants. You know what I mean?
It's mad how a shift in our mindset can just completely change the direction that we're heading in life. Like I relate to that. Thanks for sharing that little story. I relate to that in so many ways, in that it's like I've almost didn't see trees and plants before, and now when I'm sort of adjusting on a monthly basis, I sort of check in, like, what are my long-term goals? Are they the same as last month, or do I need to get a bit more specific around things? And one of the things I added in this month, on the previous new moon, was like, I want to be a gardener. Like, I want to get my hands in the soil. I want to understand the microbiomes. I want to understand the symbiosis of how life is being created. And in order to connect more deeply with the consciousness of these incredible plants that just grow out of the ground. And mushrooms for sure also just sort of piqued my interest and really opened my eye up to that one.
Yeah. And it made a lot of sense, even logically, that a thing from nature would show you what nature is. You know, the mushroom itself. It's almost as if you're taking the nature pill, you know, and it was the mushrooms, they grow in nature. And I also felt like there was a spirit inside the mushroom. It really felt like there was some type of guide there. And you know, maybe it's my intuition, you know, I don't really know. It's hard to put a finger on what these things are, but I felt as if there was a deep wisdom being transmitted to me, my ego, myself, Matt, from a way more intelligent, way more vastly complex intelligence, you know, like than I had ever had contact with. You know, I'm sure people would say it's God or the plant spirit, or I don't know what it is, but it transmits truth in a way that's undeniable, and it hits you in your soul as, oh, truth, you know, and that's a rare thing to encounter, because I was like in a world before this where I almost nothing felt true to me. You know, everything was fake. Everything was a facade. Everything was a lie. And I was so confused. I was like, why am I here if all of it's bullshit, you know? And
this
I just realized
like
I wasn't looking
mystery. At it. Like, I came here for the great mystery, and then I'm being distracted by things that I can feel in my body are actually nonsense. I mean, they serve a purpose in a way, and maybe the purpose is to be like, this isn't it. This isn't it.
Yep.
Something else is it, you know?
That was why I had to go through all of that. That's what I realized, is I had to bump into all of the things that weren't it for me to realize what was it. And what was it is so simple. It's literally right under your nose the whole time. It's right there. It's existence. It's friends. It's conversations. It's presence. Plants, nature, like returning to our roots. We are animals. We are tribal monkeys that are just, they speak. We speak. That's all. It's really different. You know, we intellectualize a little deeper maybe than monkeys, but you know, we came from that. And I realized how, you know, distant I was from what I am, you know, because society puts you in a maze of looking everywhere for what you're missing, and it's nowhere to be found because what you're missing is right in front of you. It's just being. It's just being here. It's so simple.
I feel like the survival, it gets really complicated, doesn't it? To be a human, when to survive in a society, we have to construct this identity, this version of ourselves to like present forwards out of sheer survival, because we can't make it on our own. So we have to be liked, we have to get on with others, and we have to like participate in all of these things that we're all agreeing to. And it sounds like that was kind of heading towards something that was feeling out of harmony with you intrinsically, and the mushrooms kind of helped show you that. Because I have had very similar experiences where people talk about like the ego death and things, and it's like the mushroom almost for me is like you can't be shown or understand or embody the wisdom of the teachings of the mushrooms if you're in your own way. So it will show you all the things that you aren't first and make you come to peace with those things before we can go to the next stage and really receive some teachings. But that can be an uncomfortable
1,000%.
process. Was it uncomfortable for you?
It was really weird because it was uncomfortable for me only because my friends were uncomfortable.
Okay.
Like I tripped with 4 people when we did this. And all of them were almost freaking out. To be honest, I was having a great time. I was like, this is so cool. Like, oh my God, like we're aliens, like I was on cloud 9. But some of my friends were actually, I told this story on the Gotzi podcast. One of my friends literally forced himself to throw up because he was so afraid at how these effects were coming on.
Wow.
And it didn't stop the trip from happening, even though he did force himself to throw up.
Probably reduced the length of it a bit, but
yeah, it might have done something like that. But it was funny because he actually had a humbling moment with us after he threw up, and we kind of consulted him for 20 minutes. Bro, it's okay. Like we signed up for this. We're gonna be in this for 4 to 6 hours. Like just ride this with us. We ended up sitting down in the grass somewhere, and he's like, you know what, guys, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that I was being a baby. I'm sorry that I was overreacting. Like, I love you guys. And it was just such a nice bonding moment of humbling, with him and with us. And we care about you, bro. We're here for you. Like, so, but for me, like it was a challenging experience because I was trying to like make sure everyone else was having a good time. And I had done the most research. But certainly some of my friends did have a very challenging time. But I mean, for me, again, I was on cloud 9. I was like, this is amazing. I'm very,
feels like home.
I feel very welcome in the psychedelic space. I feel like they want me there. Like those mushroom teacher, spirits or whatever. They're like, hey, you're back. Welcome back. So.
Yeah. You've been here many times before. Remember us?
Yep.
Yeah, it can. For me, I've definitely experienced that. I've felt like very welcome, very at home. Like it's like the oldest version of me sort of comes out and sort of like, yes, I understand. I've been here many times before, of course. And usually that comes about towards the end of a journey that's a higher dose, when I'm rolling like a nice organic tobacco rollie. And I also commune with grandfather tobacco at the same time. It feels like this has been done 100,000 times before.
Oh, yeah.
But certainly that's not always the case with me and my psychedelic experiences at all, especially with LSD. I find that to be quite in the mind, and I sometimes struggle to get past myself. But when I do, which is every single time because it just forces me to in some way or another, I confront whatever the thing is. Usually it's self-judgment for me, comes up with acid. And then once I break through that, it's like, now I get it. Yeah. Now we're here.
Yeah, that does happen for a lot of people in many psychedelic experiences with many molecules, but LSD in particular, it can give you a very critical self-reflection. It can make you really look at you and your mistakes and things that you need to get right in your life. But it's honestly a good thing. You know what I mean? It's a good thing to get that little, what do they call it? It's a slap in the face essentially, but from someone that cares about you and wants you to wake up. It's just trying to show you for your own good.
It's a mirror, isn't it? It's reflection
it is.
Back. And
once you can accept and say, I accept, you can get past it. And what's great about that is it sends like a shockwave through your psyche that you can't, if you're actually a person of integrity, you can't just like forget about it and like go back to being a shitty person. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I saw how I need to improve. Like, I must do this, right? You know, like it feels in integrity with my soul to hear the message out of don't be like that. Instead, be more like this. It's way more in flow. It's way more in harmony. I don't know.
So
I've always been
my
inclined.
reflection is like self-judgment. So that I often take that as like, of course, like maybe that's also a reflection of me judging others. And
Absolutely.
Sounds
I
about
struggle with that too. I was very judgmental prior to some of these experiences, and now I feel like I have more of a map of understanding. Oh, that's just where they are in their path right now. Like, it's not for me to tell them that they're wrong or this is the right way. If they're magnetized towards things I have to share, great. But if it's not where they are right now, I'm not going to try and convince them, like the old me was like, I must win the argument,
Yes. Yeah. So I resonate with that a lot. And the people pleaser in me as well. Once there's a part of me that is like, oh, I can just change myself and mold myself and fit perfectly so that I can be who you need me to be.
Right.
And then somehow expect the same from other people as well. But to allow people to sort of get on with their journey.
Yeah. That is something I've been dealing with for a long time, that people pleasing thing. And it's weird is because, rationally, I'm trying to be a good person. I'm trying to hear people out and give them feedback that is useful. But sometimes it's against my own intuition. And that's the people pleasing. Like the me sometimes wants to say, okay, stop doing that. You know what I mean? Like, clearly that's not helping you. You need to stop. But after I did that a handful of times and I got pushback and I felt like, I better just tell them what they want to hear, because this isn't working. Like the actual like critical mind that I can, that can come to me sometimes and seemingly want to help other people doesn't work. So I need to just like sit with myself. And again, like I said a minute ago, realize where people are in their path and accept that and accept them and, be supportive. But
let people make mistakes as well, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a fine line between, what's supportive and what's people pleasing. And it's hard to navigate that because, sometimes you are saying something that will just make sure that this relationship will continue to be favorable and not, cause any conflict. But at the same time, you might totally feel like something that would help them, but they're not ready to hear it yet. And it's a tricky thing, but I think patience is the answer there.
Yeah, just always like, being there. Always there. Like, I'm here if you need me, unless, of course, it's a destructive situation. You need to give some space to someone. But to even then, just be like, look, I love you. Like, I have love for you. And love can look like space, too, depending on where each of the people are in their journey. I think I've had that experience where my relationship with someone has been, it's come to light that it's actually we have these tendencies, what's the word I'm looking for? Enabling.
Oh, enabling. Oh, yeah.
Enabling
right.
Enabling good things is great, but enabling things that aren't conducive to growth and health, that's when that it's kind of difficult to have those conversations sometimes, and a bit of space is needed.
Right. 100%. It's easy to get really, really close to people, almost too close, because you're best friends. You know what I mean? So it's like you see each other every day for 4 hours a day for 2 years straight. These types of things. I've had relationships like this because I'm in a band. I run a label. Like, musicians are very interesting creatures. The creative people are, there's a give and take with creativity. Like, yes, some people can create like crazy, but other areas of life, they're not grounded. And that's fine, and that's okay. But, like when you're someone that works so deeply with artists and musicians and these types of people, you start to really get a grasp on the ungroundedness, even though they're genius. They're literally geniuses. But sometimes in other places, they're just relationship boundary stuff. Like, it's just not dialed in. And it's
human beings.
It's been tough, to learn these lessons, but I've always felt like I only learned the lessons I'm meant to learn, and that God or the universe or whatever it is only gives me what I can handle. And it wouldn't throw me a thing that would just like destroy me. So if there's a challenge in my life, I've learned through these plant medicine experiences and my meditation, my yoga practice, all this stuff, it's there for me to transmute and meet and not run away from. So I always try to do that as much as I can.
That's great advice. And a reminder for me, thank you.
Yeah,
because I face my own challenges in my life. I'm like, okay, nothing is going to be thrown at me that I can't handle.
Right.
Like you said. I just want to hear you speak to music and your band, and how you feel about the vibration of sound and what it means to you and the expression of it,
Yep, 100%. So I've always been interested in music. I've always looked up to rock stars. I felt like it was like a dream of mine from being a kid, because I was so impacted by music that, hey, I'd love to be a rock star. I'd love to be able to share a gift the way that I'm receiving this gift from these musicians. That was already in me, and I was already a massive music fan. Now, after cannabis and psychedelics, that amplified a lot more, because while psychedelics have an intense, beautiful experience, if you were to just be sitting in silence purely, I don't think it would be nearly as powerful. What I realized is music guides the journey, and music is critical to a positive psychedelic experience. And it can actually really throw an experience off if you put the wrong type of music on. So it became, I became aware that music is equally as important in the psychedelic experience as the psychedelic itself, at least for me personally. And I started to see music as sacred. Like, just the way I see mushrooms as sacred, I saw music as sacred. Like, this stuff that we can't really explain, it's just like jumbled notes and sounds that somehow in the right order sounds beautiful and amazing and makes me cry and all this stuff. It's like, it was a profound experience to see that the music was equally as important in these transformative journeys. It's always been there for me. It felt like the guide. It felt like the wave I was surfing was the music, and I don't think I would have had the same experiences without music. It became, I became aware that it was a extremely sacred thing, and that I want to work with music as a lifelong mission. So we were already in a band, but the band took like a new level after psychedelics. It was like, oh, this is the most important mission, music. Like, we can heal ourselves, heal the collective with this stuff. And you don't have to buy it. I mean, you can, of course, please support the musicians, but, we know that it's all available for free on the internet these days. So it's kind of like a free thing that, just like the breath, the reason I say I love breathwork is it's free. It's available. It's right there. You can always call to it. Same thing with music. So we got really serious and really, I learned this term on the Godsey podcast, devoted. I'd never really used that. Devoted always had kind of a religious context to me, but now I understand what Eric was saying. Is like, oh, you were devoted. It's like, I was.
Mission. Yeah.
Yes, I was devoted to music, and it became the most important mission I was on. We became very, entrenched in the music community here in San Antonio. I was reaching out to people. I was linking with people all the time, building shows with people, collaborating. just hanging out, like trying to be really involved in the music scene as much as possible, to the point that, you know, we really like penetrated the San Antonio music market as Time Wheel, which is our record label, which is a big, long story involved in that. But I guess I'm talking more about the band right now. And, you know, we played shows, we wrote albums, we have 3 records out. And then I started solo producing as well, just doing my own thing, because, you know, bands are amazing and beautiful, but there's a lot of, you know, I don't want to say conflict, but it is kind of like creative conflict. It's kind of like, no, it should be this way.
4 of you chiseling away at the end thing instead of just one sculptor, you know, you're all
Right.
like, and so if you've got to coordinate and communicate between which bits you're chipping off and like to come up with the, feel you.
100%. And it's great. And I still, you know, feel like I'm going to be working with these musicians that are the band, Something Fiction, for my whole life, essentially. But I did also start producing solo music, you know, because it's just me and my direction and where I want to take it. And I've found a lot of fun in that. But I mean, music it's really hard to describe what it is. I feel like even for a person that's not psychedelically inclined, it's hard to describe what music is, because it's just it's notes that sound good when they're in a proper order, you know.
It's like a soothing balm for me.
Yeah.
Like it's especially when I'm doing a little cannabis ceremony, there must be music, and I notice
100%.
that my body will respond to the frequencies that I'm receiving through the music or through if I'm watching something. But music especially, it's almost like I'm along for the ride now. And that's the idea, I suppose, or that's the ideal situation from a musician's point of view, I imagine, is that the audience or whoever's receiving the frequencies surrender to the process of receiving them, and will receive whatever the intention is that went into that piece of art, you know.
Yep. Taking people for a ride, you know, that's, I think, the objective of a musician. It's like, hey, how do we take these people for a ride? And one thing that's really interesting, that's more of a new thing for me, is creating music that's more easily danceable, because I grew up liking metal, prog.
What did you used to listen to when you were like in your teens?
Yeah, you know, a bunch of just the alt rock bands, you know. I remember being super big into Tool, super big into Nine Inch Nails, Audio Slave. What is the other band that's Audio Slave? It's the same guy. I'm forgetting
Rage Against
right
Machine.
now. There's Rage, you know. There's all that like stuff they play on the radio. Yeah, Chris, he's freaking amazing. But all the alt rock stuff,
Deftones?
you know, love Deftones, 100%, love them. So that's what I grew up, but that's not really dance music, you know. It's definitely like journey music,
emotional, like live.
Yes, exactly.
Which is really
and also
important when
like
you're a
someone
teenager.
understands me music. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I felt like, oh, these people get it. They get the emotions I'm going through. They get the process of growing up. They get the process of heartbreak. Like, they get the, you know, like the longing for someone, like a partner, you know, when you're a single person, and these types of things. Like, I was really connecting to the messages.
What's the one song that you remember, like, would bring you all the emotions up for you?
Oh, there's a ton, man. I mean, if we want to talk Deftones, I think there's a song called Cherry Waves.
Yes.
That one always hit me.
There's a Foo Fighters, the whole Color and the Shape album by Foo Fighters was like an emotional roller coaster for me. But there was like a song, maybe it's called Hero or something like that, but it's a very transcendent, like, final scene hero thing, and that really brought it all up in me and would make me choke me up. But I never used to let myself really have a good cry back then, but now I just let the floodgates open, and I'm like, take me.
I've learned that through the mushrooms. It's funny how much I cry on a mushroom journey, but it's not bad. And I think Terrence McKenna said this. He said, what it looks like people are going through on a psychedelic may not be what they're going through at all. It's funny because you could find someone in the fetal position crying, looking like they're having a terrible time, and you'll go check on them and they're like, oh, this is amazing.
Yes.
So
yeah, I've been a watcher for a couple of 5 gram ceremonies where I'll take a gram and just help be like a support for a group. And it's so interesting to, as I discover also quite how sensitive I am to energy and other people's energy. There's so much of me that wants to like help someone through a trip. And the last thing you want to be doing as a trip sitter is like, unless the person's losing their mind, is like interfering with their journey. So often futile anyway, and that's maybe that people pleaser that wants to come through and like help you guide your trip, but it's like you've got to hands off and let the mushrooms do the talking.
Yeah, I've said the same thing, and I don't really consider myself a trip sitter as much as just like a participant with someone. Usually I take the same amount as people and this type of thing, but when people would kind of look to me worried, oh my God, like this is intense, what do I do? I didn't want to like give them a whole spiel. I wanted to just say, just ride with it, man. That's it. That's all you do.
Yeah.
Just ride
Don't
it.
put
Just
it up
ride it.
here. You don't want to intellectualize it. Just like let it move.
Right. That's it. It's always a simple explanation for me. Oh, just relax. Just lay down. You know what I mean? Just like a couple words. I don't want to give them, oh, your soul is calling. Yeah. Like all this and that. Like they have to come to that. You know what I mean? No one can tell you, let your soul speak to you. It has to just come through.
I'm sure there are people that's my intuition. I'm sure there are people who do like channel and receive messages for people. But I also feel like, especially in the shaman psychedelic space, there's a lot of ego going around. Like there's a lot of people. So if you're listening to this, I'm sure a bunch of my audience are listening to this who have maybe tried psychedelics or might be interested in trying psychedelics. My advice is like, the classic advice is like set and setting. So like your mindset and the setting, the people you are with, the music you're listening to, how the mindsets are of the people you're with. Like, are you ready for that? The environment. So, but also just to be aware of like, there's a lot of shamans who probably shouldn't be like shamaning.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I just had a big podcast on my own show about this with my friend Clementine, who is a facilitator, and she's a great one. And we talked a lot about, the naivete that people might have after a few psychedelic experiences because they are so healing and so profound. That the psychedelic space itself can almost encourage that you share this with other people. But the thing that it doesn't tell you is, when to know you're ready for that. That's something you have to align within yourself. And what my friend Clem said, which I thought was gorgeous, is it literally has to fall into your lap to start serving ceremony. Like people asking you, showing up for it, constantly, like you can't say no at a point. When you're forcing it and you're trying to make this thing happen and it's not, and you're like, I'm going to try harder and it's not happening, and I'm going to try harder and it's not happening, that's not your path. Like if people aren't paying you or not showing up or the invites aren't hitting people well, like it's okay. You're not supposed to be a shaman. You're not supposed to be a facilitator. Yeah. You're not supposed to hold ceremony. Just do it for yourself. Do it with your friends. Like that's, for me, I feel like that's my role currently, because while I have a good sense of what's going on in that space and can help navigate through it and help maybe others through it as well, I don't feel called to start serving and getting paid to be a shaman at all. Like as entrenched as I am in this culture, it is not something that calls me. I feel much more like the vibe curator, like the music guy, the DJ, the creative director. I feel way more like that. And you can't do 10 things and expect any of them to take off. You have to choose one thing, or or maybe 2 or 3, but not 10. You can't do everything under the sun just because you're inspired. And that was a big lesson I had to learn too, because I get downloads that say, oh, I'm good at this thing, I'm gifted at this thing, I should do that thing. But guess what? If you spread yourself in 10 directions, you're not going to do any of them good.
Yeah,
so you have to choose. You have to choose 1, 2, maybe 3 if you're really talented, things that you can do. And that's why I say I'm a musician, a creative director, and a psychonaut and these types of things, because those are the couple things I find that I'm attracted to and I have a gift in. I'm not just a musician and only musician. Maybe if I was, I would be going further and making leaps and bounds in that. But I enjoy it, and it feels like a leisure and like a hobby and like a passion. But I also really feel drawn to this creative director path of, let's make some films, let's make some animations, let's create a movie, let's make a script, these types of things.
What's some stuff that you've worked on? Yeah, I know you've worked. You were involved with DMT Quest and
a little. I think I promoted that. That's all I did for that. I've been much more involved in several other psychedelic films.
Spirit Molecule.
Yeah, the Spirit Molecule, I came in after the film was made, so I really had nothing to do with the creation of that film. But I did have to do with spreading the message of that film to a much wider audience through social media.
Crucial
as
role.
well. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel super grateful to get that experience under my belt. But I did edit and help release the Aubrey Marcus ayahuasca film, as well as the Aubrey Marcus Wachuma film, as well as I was involved as a producer in several other films, and I did social media for several other films in the psychedelic space as well, some of which are A New Understanding, The Science of Psilocybin, From Shock to Awe, The Way of the Psychonaut, Psychedelica. I wasn't an editor on that. I just helped to release that. That's my friend Ben's. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just really drawn to the art form that is film. And I've always been. And I guess as far as what I've done on an independent level, like just me, I kind of was a YouTuber, not unlike yourself, from the ages of 13 to 18. And one of my biggest things that took off was a documentary where it was very indie made. It's not professional by any means, but we went to Area 51 in the middle of the Nevada desert, and we caught some crazy happenings there. Right. And it ended up going mega viral on YouTube. Like,
sick.
If you search Area 51, oh yeah, thanks, please do. If you search Area 51, like mine was on the first page, and it had millions and millions and millions. Yes, I film everything, like all the journeys we go on, trips we go on, and I feel much more like a vlogger than. And I actually want to become more of like a film director, and I'm actually working on a couple of secret projects in that regard. But yeah, that was the first kind of step into that world. And I vlog for my brother's company Sheath, which is it's a men's apparel brand and an underwear brand, and I
still need to try those.
Yeah, we should send you some.
You've piqued my interest with the way that you promote them on your podcast. It's so
totally. It's a great product. It really is a revolutionary design for men's underwear.
A little pouch for your boys, as you say.
That's it. Yep. It's right. Genius, and I'm like, how did no one else think of this? My brother literally thought of it and had enough passion to bring it to the world in a big way. And, we're doing great as a company, and it really keeps us all afloat and keeps us doing the creative work we love to do.
I'd love to try them.
Yeah, we'll send you some. You send me your address after this, and I'll get you a care pack. Awesome. Let's do it.
Okay, something else I wanted to ask you about is, and something that I've been on a journey of, I suppose, is understanding myself as an artist and how to go about, or just myself as a human being, expressing myself either through art or just in the way I go about life, like from a place of authenticity. I've been like going inwards to be like, okay, I think a lot of people, when they have like an ego disillusion, they realize like, oh, this person that I thought I was is actually just a story and sort of a fabrication of all the things that have happened to me and my opinions about things, but that's not actually who I am. So then we go inwards and we're like, okay, well, who the fuck am I? Because now I've got to find something to grab onto. And from hopefully a more authentic place, I can express myself and be in relationship with my environment and other people and stuff. But particularly around art, as an artist, when we're listening to those pieces of artwork, those music tracks that are like really, the reason they're evoking so much emotion in us is because it's like meeting that part of us inside, I suppose.
Yes.
And what I'm trying to do is express myself from a more authentic place, basically, and going for more real. Like, what's the realest part of me?
Yes.
What does that feel like to you? What does that look like in your expression?
Yeah. So for me, as a musician, I have been very drawn towards vocals and lyrics. I am also just drawn towards music and synthesizers and drums and these types of things. But I feel like what the bands I always looked up to did lyrically is say these kind of hard truths that are deep and they mean something to you. And you kind of have to have no fear as to how other people will take it. You know what I mean? But and I have a ton of lyrics and stuff like that I've written that aren't things I would normally put out there in a normal conversation. It's like something that just means something really deep and impactful to me.
It's like the most vulnerable part of yourself.
Vulnerable. Absolutely. Vulnerability. That's it. It's being willing to be vulnerable and to say the things and to scream the things and yell the things and sing the things.
And express.
Just express it out.
Without any filter, hopefully.
Yes, without a filter.
So that's the authenticity. It's like the lack of filter rather than putting on authenticity. You take off the filter.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
And I don't use the exact same thing through my podcast. I am super vulnerable, but it's not about being provocative in my podcast. It's just about being honest. You know what I mean? Like with this music stuff, with the lyric stuff, you can kind of be provocative, dramatic, kind of a little extra, add a little extra spice to that and say it in a certain way and, these types of things. But yeah, absolutely. The vulnerability to say the things that are really like your soul, or the things that are really bubbling up in your soul, has been extremely therapeutic and helped me understand myself, because sometimes you don't even know where these things are coming from until you lay it down on a track and listen to it afterwards, and you say, oh, I'm getting a download about myself. Wow. Even though I said this and I wrote this, I didn't even know what I meant when I said and I wrote it, but now that I'm hearing it back, I know what it means.
So you've written a song for yourself?
Yes.
To listen to. I resonate with that a lot. I've paused it for now. I have a Patreon community, and for a while I was doing voice notes to them in a Telegram group, and I'd get into a bit of a flow state with my voice notes, and or I'd make a video for them, like exclusive content for them, and usually I'd search a little bit deeper and get a bit more vulnerable and maybe put something out there that I wouldn't put on YouTube. I'd just get torn apart on YouTube. And I often would watch the video back, sometimes when I'm high as well, and then sit there and be like, this is literally for me. Like this download was for me. It doesn't come from me to be shared. It was for me in the first place. And I always do then share it afterwards, but just to acknowledge that it's for me and that it's my ego that's like, I've got the wisdom. Like I'm creating this beautiful thing for you, and you can only get that through me, all ego. And I suppose like an authentic artist will be like, I don't know, I just channeled this shit. That's it. Came through me.
Totally. I had that firsthand experience on one of my earlier psychedelic experiences. I actually did a solo trip on 2 hits of LSD, and I went to the park and I found my sacred spot and I smoked some cannabis, and I listened to an album I had wrote. It's called Botany by Something Fiction, which is our band.
Dude, I have to listen to your band now. Is it on Spotify?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, please do. And in the profound revelation that came to me through the combination of being in a sacred spot in nature, the molecule, LSD, and the cannabis, I heard the music and I realized I had this profound download that I had written it for me for this moment. And that was the grand epiphany.
What?
It's crazy. It was insane, because what happened and everything I said as a fantastical lyric driven thing, it actually happened there. So I have a song called The Sky on the earlier thing. The sky is changing, it's rearranging. I've never seen it this way. These are the lyrics I'm saying. And it was, at the time of writing it, an encapsulation of another previous experience. But on this LSD experience, it happened again in a bigger way, led by my own voice. So I was creating this experience by writing the music prior, finding myself in the sacred space that the molecule LSD and the cannabis plant and nature, honestly, I think nature was just an equal part of it. I had to be in nature, in a sacred spot, the setting. It was extremely profound. I was crying. I was in pretty much an extended DMT state. I really felt like I was on a DMT trip for 2 hours straight. Seeing all the lyrics that I had written come to life right before me in a bigger, more profound way than I had ever meant it to be. And it was powerful. So yes, it is creation for yourself, and you don't even realize it at the time, but later. And this is what I love about music, is it's an archive of your emotions that you can later look back to and realize where you were. It's like, like I know where I was mentally during the year that this was released, because it's all right here. It's all in the music. You know, it's all in the sounds, even like the sounds that I would create through my music spoke to where I was and what was interesting to me and where my mental space was and these types of things. And I'm in a very different place now. I wouldn't make the music that I made back then now at all by any means. But it's awesome to get to remember where I was by listening to that stuff again. And
100%. Check in. It's like this is a mark in the sand of where I am at in my life. And this is a total expression of it.
100%.
And so beautiful to have received an experience, like a moment where all the elements, your consciousness, the sort of projected connection, I suppose, rather, to the song that you've written, and of course in a psychedelic space, all coming to merge into a divine moment of like everything's perfect.
Yep.
You're exactly
that's what I always
where you're
come
supposed
to
be.
The divine. Yep, that's it. That's what the psychedelics teach me and show me, is everything is going according to plan. Everything is in divine timing. I'm exactly where I need to be, and I've gone through exactly what I've need to go through to continue to evolve. You know?
Love that.
Yep, 100%.
What advice do you have for any humans that might be listening to this that are like, I want to express myself authentically as a musician, as a writer, as a filmmaker, photographer, any kind of artist? Like, what's the process? What are some key aspects of the process of like connecting with that true self within and expressing from that place?
Yeah. The first thing that it took me a long time to get over, but I think it was the biggest hump that I got over, is don't take it too seriously. Have fun, you know, like, because I think it's an easy trap to fall into, to hear music that inspires you. Let's say Deftones, and say, I want to do that. I want to sound like that. Well, dude, Deftones, that's, you know, maybe the album you're thinking of is their third album. You're not going to come out of the gate the way Deftones did on their third album. Not only that, but there's probably $1 million worth of production on that album. engineers, amps, gear, sleepless nights, like a year of like devotion. People think they're going to come out of the gate and sound as good as their heroes. That's not going to be the case, and don't put that expectation on yourself, because you can't get to that place without starting where you are now. So having fun, just making something to make it. Don't think about the kudos you're going to get when it comes out and how people are going to look at you and how cool you're going to be when your album's out. Don't think about that. Do it for the fun of it. Do it for yourself. Do it for practice, you know? And if you do put it out and it gets plays and people love it, great. But that's not the intention from the beginning. If you do that as the intention from the beginning, you're going to be people pleasing through your creative process, and that isn't going to be authentic. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just to do it, you know what I mean? Just start and make a song and make 5 songs and make 20 songs. And maybe you won't even have a song that you feel is good enough to release by song 20, but at least now you're better in your craft, and you have a higher chance and skill set to create that first song that you do put out by beginning. So don't take it too serious. You know, I think people have such crazy high expectations that they're going to become the next big thing, the next rapper, the next Skrillex, the next whatever, like when you start producing. And that is just, it's a limitation. And rather just create something that feels right. And here's the thing. If you're having trouble coming up with words and you're a singer, don't say words. Just sing. Just sing melody. Just say oh, 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 oh. Just go off on the O's, the woes. You know, like
just use the voice somehow.
Use the voice. And what's crazy is
language can complicate it a little bit, and then it's got to have meaning and it's got to rhyme or whatever. But just get the voice box going.
Right. And then what's crazy is you can actually draft out a full melody for a song and come back and add the words. But like if you're trying to do the words first, and you won't get far enough in it to even, you'll drop the project because it's not coming to you. If you just make it and then lay down some melodies, so many times I've done that, and then I come back and I say, oh, I could put these words over that melody and it works perfectly. And now I'm creating a song that I feel amped about, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I don't write music, and I feel like there's music in me that will want to be expressed at some point. And one of my goals is to find myself in it with enough time to learn how to produce. Like I really enjoy like desert techno kind of music, and but sometimes I'm listening to a beat that doesn't have any kind of lyrics over the top of it, and the way it makes me feel, lyrics come from that space. So maybe it's like also a case of like creating the vibe of the general song, and then getting in touch with that vibe, and then allowing the lyrics to sort of harmonize with it, I guess.
100%. Yeah, there have been cases where lyrics came to me first, but more often than not, the song came first, and the song reflected back to me what I was intending to create lyrically from anyway. So yes, like the tones themselves, getting the tones out, and then realizing when it comes back to you, like what it does to you, it can absolutely inspire lyrics at that point. And another thing I wanted to say is don't get crazy with the quality, like needing it to sound like $1 million record. Just record with what you have and start there, because people get trapped in this gear trap where now they need $5,000 worth of gear to begin, and it's going to take you 6 months to amass that, and you're not going to create in the meantime. That isn't how it's supposed to be. Create with what you have. Even if it's your phone, just record voice memos on your phone if you don't have a studio, if you don't have a guitar yet, if you don't have a drum set yet, if you don't have a synthesizer yet, or these programs like Ableton or Pro Tools. Just start creating, because the creation inspires you to the point to continue on the path and keep creating instead of putting into the future. And I fell for this trap myself, which was we wrote Botany, And then I said, the next album has to be so much better. I need way better gear. And then it was like a whole year before I even started recording again, because I was just working my ass off in my day job to get the money to get the gear. And then by the point that I got the gear, I'd lost the inspiration. So, you know what I mean? And it's like, so now I'm not inspired. I have all the gear, but I'm not inspired anymore. I should have just stuck with that inspiration and kept recording for this past year with the shit I wrote botany with, and I would have a whole new album by now.
Amazing. And because there's kind of the two aspects of music as well. It's like it's the recording, but then there's also the performance side of things. So like, did you guys do live shows as well, I imagine?
We did, yes. I'm currently only doing live shows as a DJ. Cool. And I'm doing ecstatic dance actually, which I'd love to talk about. But back during the band days, we were gigging like every other week, maybe even every week. And that was just magic. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it was the shaman trance is when you're performing live. Like, you fall into it, because at that point, hopefully, you know these songs like the back of your hand. You're not even playing them. They're playing themselves. I'm not even singing. It's singing itself, you know? I'm in a trance, and like...
You're getting out the way of it. And it comes through better.
It feels like you're on stage for 5 minutes, and it's been an hour, because you're not even there. It's like, yo, what happened? They're like, you killed it. And I'm like, I did? I wasn't even here. Like, what happened? Like, where did the songs go? You know? You fall into this trance with it, and it's extremely powerful. And I feel like the more into it you are, the more into it the audience is. So to get out of your way, you know, practice a bunch before you go perform live. And again, let these songs be like the back of your hand. Don't go perform a song that you're struggling with. You know, just keep practicing, and then play your show, you know. And practice is great. It's a great ritual to have if you have bandmates. You know, it's a good bonding experience, good communal experience. Set a day every week. Every Tuesday at 7, we're practicing. And we had to actually get really serious with each other and call each other out, because sometimes people wouldn't come to the band practice, and we would, you know, kind of jokingly, lightheartedly say, if you don't come at 7 p.m., you don't give a shit about the band.
Yeah, you do whatever it takes to get the commitment on board. Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't, we weren't mad at each other, but we had to say it in a serious way, and even a joking way. You're out of the band if you don't come to practice. You know, you weren't actually out. We're just saying that to get you motivated. You know,
fine, I quit. I quit the band.
And we've had those too. I quit. The next day they call you. So when are we practicing? You know, that's the funny brotherhood of being in a band. And
also artists are notably unpredictable and emotional and dramatic.
Totally.
That's what makes them great.
Absolutely. And, you know, sticking with your brothers and stuff when they didn't show up and they said they would, and call them and be patient. Hey, we're still here at practice if you can come. You know, like, we always were very patient with each other. And I think that is a good thing, and a large part of like the brotherhood that is a band is, you know, being endlessly patient with each other, and learning with each other. And I remember the band Toole saying this in an interview, and I didn't get it at the time, but now I totally get it. It's kind of like a marriage, you know, like, or it's kind of like a relationship. Like, if you have a girlfriend, you know, sometimes you're not always on the same page, but you hold empathy with where they're at because you love them. And it's a very similar thing. For sure.
Yeah, I suppose if someone's not showing up to band practice, rather than being angry at them, even though you might be feeling angry, to express to them rather like, it's just better when you're here.
Yeah.
As opposed to, fuck you didn't show up. Like,
right.
It's better 100%. When you're here.
That doesn't get you anywhere, because then you don't have a band anymore if you just get mad at each other, you know, and everyone wants a band. That's why we're in this shit, you know, so.
But, and tell me about ecstatic dance.
Ecstatic dance. Yes. So, funny story. For the first probably 25 years of my life, the most dance I could muster is head bobbing like this. That's my dance. If I'm feeling it, this is what I'm doing.
That's you,
for
like
25 years. And I thought that was like dope. I was like, oh, hell yeah, head bob. Hell yeah. You know what I mean? But after an experience with the heart medicine, MDMA, I had a very profound experience where it was a candlelit ceremony. I found my shadow on the wall, and as I danced, I found my shadow, and I could see how cool the shadow looked, kind of disassociated from that it was me. And it was a crazy, profound experience in realizing what that shadow's doing looks awesome. But I could never admit to myself that I would look awesome dancing. So it had to be this like disassociated experience almost of, oh, whatever the shadow's doing is beautiful and cool and I love it. And then I had to realize it was me. You know, it was trippy, but it unlocked me. Yeah, it unlocked me to understanding that you're not being judged when you dance. Yeah. Like, so many people think they look funny, they look weird, they're doing it wrong, they're embarrassing themselves when you're dancing in public.
It's meant to be a certain way, and you're not doing it that way. Yeah.
Right, and that's not it at all. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I remember in this ceremony, it was a very intentional ceremony. It wasn't like, let's pop MDMA and go to a rave. This is an inner work ceremony. And I remember looking back to some of the participants in the ceremony that were holding space for me. And I said, am I bothering you guys as I'm dancing? And they're like, no, not at all. And I'm like, you're sure? Like, I'm not bothering you by doing this? They're like, get it, dog. You're killing it. Like, I love you, man. And I was like, wow. So I have permission to let these movements flow through my body and the music to move me. And I started to realize that that's what dancing is. It's allowing the music to move you. You're not moving yourself. You're not trying. You're just allowing it to flow. It's almost like your nervous system gets hooked up to the music, and you ride the waves like through your body.
Yeah.
So that was a profound experience for me, and I realized I actually love dance. I felt kind of silly that I had never embraced it because of how much I actually loved it at age 25. That I started sharing this story in the band scene. I wasn't the only head bobber. A bunch of people were that way, and I would try to show them how to unlock and just be myself and just be vulnerable and authentic in my movement, and I would show other people how to dance. And I'm actually a yoga teacher as well, and wow. I started having this download that dance is yoga and yoga is dance. And I realized I could actually teach people yoga by leading ecstatic dance. So I also found that there was this perfect harmony with my passion for music and my passion for yoga, and they coalesce in the workshop of ecstatic dance.
Wow.
So literally I've only been ecstatic dance teaching or instructing or, space holding for less than a year. But it has been so powerful, and the amount of gratitude I receive after I do that and the hugs and the love has been just so rewarding that it really feels like part of my path. And if you've never been to an ecstatic dance, I highly encourage it. In these spaces, we really work with the medicine, like cacao, and not alcohol. While alcohol can loosen you up, it usually is in a different type of dance. Like cacao,
it's like a bit
actually
of a dissociative, like cacao brings you right into here.
Yeah, it's heart centered, and community oriented. I think alcohol. It's funny because we get it really confused because it feels community oriented because you drink with people, but it really just strengthens your ego and creates division, and you're trying to argue your thing. Where cacao, it does loosen you up. But it feels so much more of an empathy feeling, so much more of a heart open empathy, I love you feeling, not this is my way and it's my way or the highway. I feel like when you drink alcohol, and especially if you have a couple beers, like let's say 4 to 5, or 5 glasses of wine, these types of things, you're less receptive to other people. So we don't drink.
Like a bit of an energetic buffer. Hey.
Yes.
I find cacao also to be quite a stimulant. I get quite a lot of energy.
Oh yeah,
heart rate
it's
comes
got like
up.
caffeine in it.
And certainly bursts open the heart space for me.
100%.
I've had
here's something Oh, sorry.
No, go.
I just wanted to say it took me 20 times of drinking cacao for the full level of it to unlock. And it almost reminded me of the first time that I smoked cannabis. I didn't feel it. The first 5 times I smoked cannabis, I didn't feel it. It was like the 6th time. I feel like your body doesn't know how to receive the proper altered state because it just hasn't done it yet. You have to teach your body how to receive the, the chemicals in the medicine. So you might drink cacao and not feel anything and just say, this is bitter dark chocolate, or this is like bitter hot cocoa, or whatever it is. Keep trying it. And by maybe times 5 to 20, you'll get the experience we're talking about, because I feel like it's hard for people to understand how chocolate can be a psychedelic experience almost, but it can be if you stick with it, for sure.
Again, in combination with the set and setting and intention, like the intention of drinking this ultimately like drink of the gods, like cacao, especially if it's ceremony grade cacao, where it's been intentionally grown, organic, intentionally harvested and blessed, and and then fortunately for us, shipped all over the world. And that kind of ceremony grade cacao really is on a whole nother level to just like hot chocolate, or even non-ceremony grade cacao. But my experience with it has been just almost like an MDMA experience, where I'm just like feeling very lovey and very, very open and receptive,
bright and
just very compassionate and forgiving.
Yes.
And non-judgmental of myself.
Yes.
Yeah, which is perfect for ecstatic dance. I've never combined ecstatic. I've done a few sound journeys and cacao, and I did a cacao cannabis breathwork journey, which was really beautiful. And I've done a couple of ecstatic dance ceremonies, but I feel like I do ecstatic dance most times that I smoke cannabis, and I do it on my own with these exact headphones on, and just around this cabin, and I'm moving in ways that I would almost never move if anybody was watching me. And I feel like so self-confident and full of myself. And I've also been on this path from being like the head bobber. And it's funny because my sister is a professional dancer. She's into performing arts, and she went to Lane's Dance College, which is one of the top dance colleges in the UK. And then she toured with the musical Wicked. She was one of the main dancers on the Wicked tour. And so I'd always watch her and be like, wow, it's incredible the way you can move your body and to the music, and your physical body is the expression of that. It is the art. You are the art. But it never really connected with me until actually MDMA at a music festival, and then I just didn't give a fuck what anybody else was thinking about me, and I just moved my body and let my, like you say, nervous system hook onto the sound. And I was like, okay, the DJ can take the wheel from here. I'm on board. Wherever the ship is going, I'm moving with it. And that's a beautiful experience. So you DJ as well at these ecstatic dance parties. Cool.
Yes,
we
curate the music. So the breath work's really only at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it's a little bit at the beginning too. When we start the ceremony, we put some very ambient music on for the first track. It doesn't have a beat yet. It's just kind of like, okay, here's the vibe. Here's, it has begun. Let's start to group together. Let's start to sync together. And we haven't done this every ecstatic dance. Sometimes we just let the music start it off and we say, welcome, we're Time Wheel, we're going to ecstatic dance. Like, we give them a little couple words. But on a couple of the more profound ones, and, I'm learning as I do more of these, what's working better. At the beginning, we had people tune in, kind of like you would in a yoga class, where you take 3 breaths and then let's get into it. And certainly at the end, it's important to bring everyone to a stop, a standstill, almost like a standing shavasana in yoga, which is the corpse pose, where you just kind of relax, let the energy flow through, and let things integrate into your body after having raised all that energy up. And then you do a couple breaths as well. But we haven't done like Wim Hof breath during ecstatic dance. So we feel like Wim Hof is very much like a seated thing.
Yeah.
And, Breath of Fire is very much like a seated thing because you can kind of get dizzy and you don't really want to be standing.
Yeah, you won't be
during
laying
that.
down if you're going to go that deep.
Totally. But yes, I wanted to say something. I'm trying to remember what it was about. Oh yeah, the MDMA experience that you had at the festival where you just didn't give a fuck what people thought about you. The integration of that is super important, to not need MDMA to feel that way, because it actually makes you a stronger person to not care how other people are perceiving you. And it's a big
to do that.
Say it again.
Not just to say, oh, I don't care what this person's saying. Well, if you say that, but like, are you quite happy to just dance with no MDMA and really not care? Like
that.
So to take
That's
action.
what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Is don't care how people are perceiving your movements, and you can dance anytime, anywhere. And that's what I love. Is so much of what people struggle with dancing is they're afraid what people will think of them. But what's funny is it's always the opposite. Well, not always, but I mean, for the most part, people are actually inspired by the fact you don't care and that you're dancing, and they look up to you instead of thinking, oh, what a loser, he's making the wrong dance move. They don't think that. They think, oh, he's getting it. He's having a good time. I wish I could do that. So by doing that, you inspire other people. So many times since that experience I told you about where I learned how to dance, I've been the first person on the dance floor now.
Yes,
and
Matt.
that's something I never would have done, ever. And the craziest part is that some of these Austin, Texas dance parties, when I'm the first person up there, I've inspired, and this is something new to me, to get actually like attention from gorgeous females. I've inspired beautiful women to come and dance with me. I've literally danced with like 5 beautiful women at the same time by being the first person there.
Early worm?
Yeah. Early bird gets the worm. And I'm in a relationship, and I'm not looking to, flirt with these people or anything. But it was just like, it's a new experience to get that attention, because I've always felt like kind of a nerdy guy or whatever. I am a nerd, that's why I sit behind a computer all day and do the stuff I do. But I'm just saying, like, that vulnerability and also confidence that I don't care how y'all are perceiving me. I'm going to go be the first person to dance. That's what the music's here for. Like,
I think that's what people are attracted to the most, isn't it? It's like confidence, just to own it.
Yes. And also, I'm a DJ, so I know how important it is for that dude to feel like he's doing a good job and people are enjoying it and dancing. So I'll be the first person, because I'm like, I know where you're at, bro, and you want people out here vibing. You hate when people are standing in the back, because I'm gonna say, I'm with you, bro, and I'll go up and I'll dance with the DJ just by himself, and then I turn around, and then all of a sudden, gorgeous women have flocked to the dance floor. Yes, okay, it's working, and that brings more guys, and then all of a sudden, it's a party. We're all here flowing together, you know what I mean?
Nice, yeah. And all you had to do is, like, get out of your own way and give other people permission to do the same.
100%.
Dude, you're so invited to my wedding one day, and you're gonna
let's go.
Yeah, I've had downloads around when my partner and I have been at music festivals together, and I was just thinking, like, what a great different, but from my perspective, greater experience if people weren't drinking. Like, if there was a no alcohol festival going on, of course people must do what they want, and certainly, like, I'm not. I enjoy the odd drink here and there. I don't really drink that much, but like, and no judgment. But ecstatic dance parties are that. It's like the exogenous substances. It's all coming from the inside, and people can really, I can really have that experience of just pure bliss and ecstasy without the ecstasy, without the drugs, just from shifting energy that wants to be shifted in this like stiff masculine body that's just been in the gym and then refused to feel my feelings for many years. It's like there's a stiffness in me, and to move that and like loosen it up, a lot of energy comes through. And I've noticed that I process emotions in bliss and joy as much as I do in sadness. and it almost feels like the same thing in my experience. And sometimes, yeah, when I'm having a good dance and I really let myself move, and I really connect to like a really transcendent song that's lifting me, it's like, and then I have a nice little cry and I'm like, life is fucking excellent. And I think you say that you're not a shaman, dude, but you're a yoga teacher, you're a DJ, you're a dance encourager, you're a psychonaut, you're a space holder. You seem to be ticking all the boxes, and let me not put the word shaman on you,
Sure.
but it's I suppose I'm just grateful that there are people like yourself and that you're here on planet Earth during these crazy times to actually just be the calm, like grounded presence that is required as people move through the chaos of their medicine journey, or the chaos of learning to dance, or whatever's coming up for them in yoga, or just the chaos of being a human during these times. We need more people like yourself coming online, because you haven't always been like this, from what I understand.
Right.
You've come online through your darkness, and that's from the perspective that you have now. It's like, oh, thank fuck for the darkness, because it's brought me to where I am right now.
100%.
And yeah, so just reverence and gratitude for you, brother, for everything that you're doing, everything that you're creating. I'm so excited to call you an internet friend.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
An internet soul tribe member. And I look forward to us meeting in the physical for sure one day.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
And you're very, very inspiring to me, dude. Like, especially with the
Thank
music
you.
stuff and the DJing and the ecstatic dance. I'm like, what else can I get my teeth stuck into? Matt's doing it. You know?
Well, it's an honor to inspire others, because I've been inspired. So for me, it's just that, I grab the torch and pass the torch, and just keep doing that, because I don't know. I feel very grateful that I've fallen into this path, or it's found me, or however it's happened, because, again, I was depressed, and it took that shift for me to see how differently I see now. I don't consider myself a victim very often. I've got a very kind of clear understanding of karma. I feel the psychedelics have shown me my karma and why things come back to me in the way they do, good and bad. And it's all to do with me. And I stopped blaming outside things. I stopped blaming outside people. I stopped blaming outside circumstances, and I take ownership for all the good and the bad, and learn from my mistakes and try to not continue repeating them, because that's not evolution, to continue repeating the same mistakes over and over. And I think we're here to evolve,
I was literally just going to sort of finish off this epic podcast with a question around, like, what is your understanding of consciousness, and do you feel like we will see in our lifetime, what do you feel like we might see in our lifetime in terms of evolution of humanity?
That's a good question.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah. Well, I do feel like consciousness is linked to the creative force. And creative force can be looked at as, yes, the arts, but also creating relationships, creating a beautiful life, creating health, creating, it's like our innate nature is to create. And some people will just create more humans. That's cool. Like that's the householder path.
Also,
yeah,
we need
absolutely.
to continue the species.
It is. But I think that the highest thing that evolution is looking for is better and better creation, to keep us in harmony with that what we are, that which we are, which is we are nature. We are a part of nature. We're not separate from it. And we need to create systems that keep us linked to what we are, so that we don't detach ourselves, because that is not going to work for us, to detach ourselves from nature and become, you know, I don't know, a
further
cyborg.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been on a path for a while of like moving further and further away from the truth of our intrinsic like connectivity to nature, especially, and
And each
everything
other.
really, and each other. Yeah.
Each other. It's just so important because everything's trying to divide us, especially through social media and all these, you know, this side, that side, left, right, whatever. Like everything's trying to make us seem like we're separate from each other, and we're not. We're the same thing. You know, that's what DMT and even 5-MeO DMT teaches you is, and yoga. I mean, yoga means union, and it is the remembrance that we're all the same person. We're all the same being. We're all the same consciousness emitting from the same source, just being expressed through different bodies. And so to hate your brother is to hate yourself. And we're not going to align with everybody. We're not going to be best friends with everybody, and that's okay.
We need a bit of resistance every now and then.
But don't hate them, you know? Don't hate them. Hold space for them in their path.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just create the highest version of yourself. And Eric Godsey says this, and I'm definitely giving him the credit because I've learned this from him. But it's about the acorn. You know, the acorn knows it's programmed inside of it that it's going to become an oak tree. And in order to become the oak tree, it has to smash out of the seed. That's a destructive process. It has to...
It takes place in the darkness as well.
Takes place in the darkness, and it has to break the shell that it's operating in to grow outside of. And that's what I mean to say, create the highest version of yourself, because it's not going to just be given to you on a silver platter. It takes work. You have to show up every day to this work and just make a little bit of progress. If you make just a little progress every day, you'll be surprised how much it adds up over the course of a year and 2 years and 5 years and 10 years. All of a sudden you've got the life you've been wanting, and it's worth it to go after. So that would be my message.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it feels that the visualization I'm getting is sort of like the profundity of the now, like right now. And it's like, I can choose to like close my laptop if I want, but I can do anything. I have free will to throw this microphone out the window. But what the point is, like, I get to choose. And so it's like a string and a culmination of, or if you can choose pearls, like then you got a whole string of pearls, and over time you've got a whole necklace of pearls. And if you can just moment to moment make choices that are in alignment with your highest self, or the highest, most authentic expression of yourself, whatever that might be, and whatever the invitation is there, over time that compounds massively. It does. Massively. And sometimes we can remember, I think, moments where we made a choice about something and it sends our life on a whole nother trajectory, and but that's happening every single moment. Any moment we can sort of come back to this presence and make a choice from here. Like, is that, like, I always used to keep things really simple when I was an athlete. I was kayaking every day for many years, and before I knew anything about any of this stuff, all I knew was like, is that thing going to make me go faster in a kayak? If it's no, I don't want anything to do with it. If it's yes, I'm interested. And when we have a set goal and a vision of an ideal of what we want our lives to look like or feel like, or the expression of ourselves to be, sometimes it can be we can have an idea of what it might look like, but it's unlikely that it's going to be exactly like that in the future. And so if we're holding on too much to like trying to control what that end product or that end version of ourselves might look like, we actually miss the authentic, beautiful, winding, meandering path of how to get there. And we don't even know really where there is, if that makes sense.
Yep. It's crazy because I've talked about this on my show about there's a future pull that knows where it's going. And if you trust in the process, trust in yourself, you get where you're meant to go. You always get there. And it'll literally blow your mind, because I never would have thought I would be where I am now. I'm 10 times more accomplished, and I don't mean to bolster my ego, but than I ever thought I had the capability of being. And I say that by saying I never thought I'd have 3 albums or whatever. I never thought I'd work with 5 or 10 psychedelic films. I never thought I would have a podcast, or that I'd speak to the people like you or Eric Godsey or these people that I've spoken to for hours on end. I never thought that was within the realm of possibility for me, period, ever. And the fact that I'm doing it now is proof that by showing up and trying, things happen. And your wildest dreams can come true. I'm beyond my wildest dreams right now, and that's what's crazy.
So you're surprised by all of this is happening.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're like, I am going to do this very specifically and get here. It's as much as you're going after it, you're allowing it to unfold naturally.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Cool.
That's what it is. It's just showing up and trusting in the process. And having patience is the biggest thing, because I'm honestly an impatient person. That's been one of the things I've had to work on the most through my self-improvement process, is learning to wait for things and not feel like I need it now. That's instant gratification thing. I think it's just programmed into us, and society reinforces that programming for sure. But for me to learn how to wait and be patient and not get impatient, and because then you stunt your own growth by being impatient.
You're less likely to take a step in the wrong direction as well.
Yes, that too.
Yeah,
that too, exactly.
If you're running,
for example, you could reach out. I could reach out to you for a podcast and not hear back for a week, and then message you and say, forget it, and then I'm not on your podcast, bro, and I want to be. So I just self-sabotage, right? Yeah. So it's like, don't do that. Just wait for the person. Just wait for the thing to happen. Just be patient. If it's meant to happen, it will.
Don't force the connection.
Yes.
As well, yeah.
100%.
I think a lot of people put so much emphasis on their network and the connections, and although that's super important, what's more important is that they happen organically, and they kind of unfold in a way where both people are like you and I are like, we were supposed to be doing this. This is all unfolding as it is meant to.
It feels in alignment, for both of us, I feel. It's not forced by you. It's not forced by me. We're here. We're happy to be here, and that's gorgeous. I love that.
I feel like that's the evolution that I want for humanity. That's the evolution that I want for my audience. If they are feeling like they might feel like, I don't even know what being in alignment feels like. It's like, to learn and understand what the sensation is in the physical body of alignment. For me, it's like in my solar plexus, I like radiate out from here, and in my human design as well. This is like a PowerPoint, but when my heart also comes online, which it is and has been through this whole podcast, then I can speak truth from here. Then I can be really confident with what I'm expressing. And that to me just feels like I'm in heaven, like when I'm in that kind of flow. And I'm only just really starting to understand that's one of my gifts, I suppose, is like to communicate from a deeper place and allow it to come out of me. But I suppose coming back to the evolution of consciousness or the evolution of humanity is for us to each go on the journey or the hero's journey of self-discovery to find what it is that makes us feel like online and feel like life is worth living and has some kind of meaning, even though it might be difficult to explain it. I just have a feeling that I'm supposed to be here. And in the process of that journey, I feel like is one where our unique gifts come online as a response to us intentionally choosing to make changes or push into the resistance. And if I've got a fear of dancing, I'm going to fucking go to a dance class where I'm just going to put some music on and let myself move and not even look in the mirror, but just allow my body to move, but move towards that which is causing some resistance. And that's the resistance helps the growth aspect. And if we all do that as individuals, and give each other permission slips to do it the whole time. And if we see anybody else expressing themselves authentically, whatever, and not to say that's not authentic, anybody expressing themselves, that is authenticity. And just to celebrate that and raise those people up and give them more permission and be like, I love what you're doing, keep going.
Yes.
Yeah, feel like
absolutely.
That's a world that I want to live in.
Me too. And we have to create it. You know, there's the saying, if you want to change the world, first change yourself. I think that's super important, because it's easy to have these big visions on psychedelics and say, oh, I can see the utopia, I have to change the world. But then if you go about it by not being in integrity with your soul, it's not going to work. You know, people are going to not be down with what you're doing. They're going to sense the ego. They're going to sense the inauthenticity of it. So change yourself first and foremost. Beautify your life, your microcosm. The macrocosm will be a result of your microcosm and your inner world. So get in alignment with your inner world to then manifest a more beautiful outer world.
I love that. Thank you. Maybe we should end it there. Matt, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, so my podcast is called Zian Archive, XIAN Archive. That's the same handle on Instagram, Zian Archive. I'm on YouTube. Timewheel.net is our label and podcast platform. We've got a number of other shows as well, which are amazing, so please check it out. Timewheel has a bunch of really great music that I spend a lot of time curating. I've created some of it too. My own releases are on there. So check out Timewheel on Instagram as well, Facebook, YouTube, and timewheel.net is pretty much our portal of everything that I've got going on and that I'm interested in.
Amazing. Go and check it out. All the links will be in the show notes or the description, should this be on YouTube, which is quite exciting.
Yes.
And I also just want to say, because I wanted to say this at the start, but your intro music for your podcast is so fucking cool, dude. Like,
I'm glad you like it.
I feel like the resonance of it and the frequencies you've specifically tuned to get my even when I'm in the car and it comes on, I'm like, okay, now I'm listening. I'm like straight in there. I'm like, every single word must be felt. Like,
yes, I'm glad you like it.
Sneaky digital wizard, you like hooking our little fragile little brains in.
That's so funny. I remember the morning I made that intro, and it happened so fast. And that's the funny thing, is it wasn't an overly thought thing. I think I made it in 1 hour. You know what I mean? And I was actually, this was during the quarantine when it first happened, and I was playing World of Warcraft with one of my childhood friends because we were in the quarantine. There's nothing else to do. And I said, hey, BRB, I'm going to make something that's coming to my mind real quick. And I came back an hour later and I showed him that, and he said, yeah, dude, that was freaking dope. And I was like, I'm running with it. So I'm glad you like it, because I didn't even put too much thought into it, honestly. It just came to me, but I'm glad people enjoy it, and I've heard that compliment a few times, so I really appreciate it.
Love it. Now you guys have to go and listen to the podcast, discover the intro, and then when you do listen to it, you'll be hooked.
Yep.
But yeah,
please check it out. You know, I put a lot of love into that podcast, so I'd love for you guys to listen.
Cool. Well, I feel like this isn't going to be the last time that you and I get on the mics together, and
I agree.
Deepest heartfelt gratitude for your time and your focus and your energy and your sharing and your wisdom. Big appreciation for you, brother.
Back at you, man. Thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being vulnerable. Thanks for just continuing on this path, man. You know, it's very important that people like you are showing up and doing what their soul is calling from them. So thank you as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Peace.
Absolutely. Peace out.
Yeah, we did it. Woo! That was fucking epic. Yes.
That was good. That was one of my best podcasts ever. Thank you, man.
You feeling that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. You're in the pocket there, explaining things so beautifully, and
credit to the morning. I'm glad we got to do it in the morning, because the other time.
I am feeling so grateful to have dropped in with Matt on this podcast. What a beautiful soul. I think you'll agree. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Please share it with someone who you think might also enjoy it. And do go and check out Matt's podcast, also linked below. Also, let me know what you think about having the New Perceptions podcast on YouTube and what you think about having a video. I think it's a little bit more intimate. I really enjoyed editing it. If you want a boost of good karma, please hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, share it with someone, and I will check you guys in the next piece of content soon. Much love.